What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. And I'm super excited, man. You guys have no idea the intensity that you're in for. I met Brandon Miller officially for the first time. He actually joined my SiriusNet probably a month or so ago, and super excited because this is a guy. We talk about content and the power of content, and I've known about Brandon. I've been watching his content. You become a fan of people that are out in the local community or out in your business community if you're watching that content. And Brandon is one of those guys. He's been inspiring. It was to the point that like a few months ago I was walking downtown to my office and I saw Brandon and I was like waving across the street like I knew him, and he didn't know me, so he didn't wave back, so that's fine. But but I was like, oh, that's right, he doesn't know me. But so then he joined our SiriusNet group, and I'm like, that awesome. Like he matches the energy that he has on the video. I'm super excited to meet, and we met up at Brighton Bar and Grill a couple weeks ago, and it did not disappoint. I had already been forewarned in a good way by Michael Mayernick. He's like, you're gonna walk away with some stuff. And again, Brandon, he this is gonna be an awesome conversation because he hits you with like questions, and then he'll slap you across the face with like this blunt, motivating statement. So it's super cool. I've been telling everybody you need to get your meeting with Brandon, but I'm super excited to dive in and talk about you know, leaving corporate America, right? Building your business, what it's like to using social media. Brandon is a really smart guy. He's built a really cool business, and I'm excited to get into it. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Brandon Miller.
Well, thanks for having me, Jason. Nice to see everybody. This is definitely some grit and some coffee, right?
That's what it's all about.
Dude, I love the name. I loved everything about it. You bring in and highlighting a bunch of local businesses and just, intelligent and interesting people. I mean, it's really, really cool what you've done with this.
Thanks, man. It's it's fun when you can do something that is mutually beneficial for everybody. I've grown this platform in the sense of like being able to take care of my friends. One, right? And then two, when I meet really awesome people, it gives me a tool to build a deeper relationship. And we have a conversation, and a lot of times people are like, oh, what do you want, what do we do now, what's the next step, where do we go from here? And I'm like, man, like the next step to me is like, let's have a fire killer conversation with the cameras on, like, and then boom, our relationship gets deeper. We have this killer conversation, we do a whole week of content that comes out, and it's just like you're almost speed dating. So
Yeah, I love
welcome
it.
to my web.
I love it. I love it. How cool, man. I mean, absolutely stunning. And the spot you've set up is really cool. So thanks again for having me.
Ah, my pleasure, man. So tell me, how did Inspired by Design get inspired?
Oh, well, it got inspired if to start at the very beginning, my best friend's dad across the street from where I grew up, well, not grew up, but stayed for a little bit, right? He was a painter, so naturally I ended up having to clean brushes and stuff. Fast forward like 7 years, 8 years, ended up here in Michigan, and my brother had started actually Inspired by Design, and unfortunately he passed away, and he didn't really build anything with it. He just kind of made a name. So I really just picked up the torch and uh, lit it up, and now we've kind of evolved. It started with me loading my power washer in the back of a '09 Malibu. I remember I used to have to lean the seat forward like all the way, and then the wheel sat on the back of the seat, and then the little giant on top with like legs hanging out a little bit. I don't know why people hired me, but thank you for all you guys
Thank
that
you for
did.
that belief.
Yeah, for real, because we've came along, trucks on the road, and amazing crew now. And it got inspired from needing to take care of my family and wanting to really. I saw it was kind of like a low bar. There are great painters around, but like the bar to entry is not high, so the standards aren't high. So I want to raise the standard.
I love that because I tell people all the time, like, just because your industry has a bad name, to me, like, people will look like, oh, I'm in this industry and people don't like these kind of people, or they've been scammed by this kind of person. Like, good.
Yeah.
Like, that's good news for you. Now you get to go and be the difference maker.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I mean, if you get a good enough system and processes together, like I mean, there's a company around here. I don't know the name; it slips my mind, but they do like seven figures just picking up dog poop.
That's insane.
Yeah, so if you put your mind to it, you can do it. I truly believe that, at least here in America.
5,000%. Yeah, no, you have to have some kind of rules and like cooperation because sometimes other things matter.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So man, so you're in the '08. You said Malibu.
Yeah, '08 Malibu, and that was during COVID. Actually, is when I started. So 2020 is when we actually like launched as like an official company, and it was definitely different times. People didn't really want you in their houses, but the people that didn't mind, and also it was a lot of deck staining and that kind of thing. So it wasn't glorious work, right? I mean, I remember power washing like 6 houses a day or something like that, all by myself.
Because it's just you at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and I really just owned a job for a really long time. It was up until about 2 years ago that I was like, "Oh, I have stuff to figure out," and really started implementing teamwork and pouring into my team.
So this is a really good, how like the merge from being that solopreneur to building a company with a team, because there's a big learning curve just going out and starting business, bootstrapping and doing it yourself. And then there's like a whole next level because now all of a sudden you have people that are depending on you that work for you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking you're saying like, how do you do that
Yeah, how did
transition?
that yeah.
Well, at first, it's not very easy because I feel like, at least for me, I was micromanaging a lot of stuff and not necessarily trusting in the guys. And I also would not really hire for the right reasons. It was just like, oh, you got a pulse? Come help because we're behind like 4
Yeah,
months.
we just need anybody.
Exactly. And then now it's like, I actually picked this up from this really great guy. He runs Elite Business Advisors. It's like a painting company, like coach. And he was doing an event around here. And I went and he said, 2 beers and a puppy. So higher on, can you sit with somebody for long? Like you don't have to drink 2 beers, but long enough to drink 2 beers, not chug, drink, right? And be able to have some fluent conversation. And would you trust them to watch your puppy over the weekend?
Mm,
Because if you could say yes to both of those things, you could trust them going into a client's house. And ever since I've implemented that, it's just been amazing. And then there was also this guy called Nick Slavic. So he's one of the top like painters, like faces for like all of America, really. He runs the PCA and he does a lot of events that just talks about this stuff. And it was like 2.5 years ago that I went to that, and he goes talking about like numbers and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to get by. Oh my gosh, I haven't even ever thought of gross profit.
yep.
What's tracking? Like, I don't know what my material cost is per job percentage wise. Like, I just know it cost me a couple $100, right? And so the transition was definitely hard going from painter Brandon to business owner Brandon because there's so many different levers within it. Like,
Yep.
yeah, you could post on social media while still painting, but pouring into your team and defining the systems like, hey, what all things is Brandon doing? Okay, Brandon was painting, posting, estimating, running jobs, scheduling, answering the phone. That's one of the hardest, right? So you got to get an admin to help you answer phones. It helps a ton. I think we were actually talking about that at,
Oh, 5,000%.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Because I mean, you're painting, right? So you're painting and then you got to stop every 5 minutes or however long whenever the phone rings.
Yeah, hopefully every 5 minutes, right?
Hopefully every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
That's a good problem to have if it's
yeah.
happening.
As
But
long as it's clients.
yeah.
When it's other painters having problems, you're like, oh man, come on, come on, come on. And that's where the project manager comes into play, right? So it starts with hiring that admin, and you're like, oh, okay, now I got somebody to help me answer the client calls, and then you're like, you got 6, 7 painters under you, or whatever business you're in. You got people underneath you that are calling you for all the problems. Wow, problems. Because then I get to like now I get to actually come to do things like this or come meet up with you. And I mean, networking has been incredible for us and meeting up with other businesses because that's what I love doing. I love asking a bunch of questions and finding out why people do what they do. Basically, what you're doing right here.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. I felt guilty for a long time when my wife would go to a job that she hated, and I'm like just doing this fun thing that I love doing.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like this grateful thing that I get to do. Like, this is fun.
Yeah, I believe God puts us here for a reason
Five
and
thousand
puts
percent.
us on this path for a reason. So definitely was a great transition to have. I'm grateful for it and still a ton to learn.
And that's even kind of what I was getting at is like I know you and you've mentioned a couple times throughout that conversation, you invest in coaching, you look to learn from other business owners. And I think that is like the biggest thing. When I started my business, I my neighbor came across the street came over and she was talking about me starting, we were just having a conversation and she was like, oh, I used to own a bakery. And she was like, "Oh, I loved it," she was talking so passionately, it was, like, giving me chills, right? She's like, "I love getting up in the early in the morning, I love baking good food, I loved my people and my team, I loved watching people eat the food, like, I loved the enjoyment on their faces." But then she started talking about, like, making money as a business owner, and she was like, like, if you couldn't pay me to start a business again, like, it was so hard, we had to do this, we couldn't make money, and, like, I asked her, like, "What if you would've made money in the first place? Like, would you still do it?" And she was like kind of, you know, like flabbergasted. And I was like, like you loved all those other things. You couldn't figure out how to make money. Did you go and did you talk to anybody else that owns a bakery? And she was like, no. And that was the inspiration of this whole entire thing of coffee and grit was like, I'm having these conversations with people. I'm going out, me and you we're going to seek the people and we're going to learn. And there's so many other people that think their problem and their challenge is unique. Well, guess what? It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Like, hi, I'm Jason. I have a problem.
Yeah.
I have a new vision every day, and like like I'm hopping all over the place, and it's like, and five other people in the crowd can relate to that.
Yeah, and sometimes we actually like even if it's not coaching, like that's why I think mid and junk removal is actually really inspiring too, because Mike and Austin like even each other out so well, and they're
Yeah.
like yin and yang for running it. I'm hate to say it, but kind of jealous of it. I've always wanted a great partner like that, but at the same time, it is pretty cool owning it all myself too.
No, that is cool. And it's hard to find that kind of partnership. They're a good model of that yin and yang and they work really well together. And I'm sure they have their disagreements, but they sound like they communicate and work it out really well.
Yeah, I love it. And that's one of those parts of, meeting with these people that it's been so eye-opening. It's like, wow, okay, so now I just need to find people in our roles that are my yang, right? Uh, and then have like traction talks about this like I'm definitely a visionary. It seems like you're a
No, for
visionary
sure.
too.
Yeah.
And then having that integrator to say like, "Hey, these two ideas are great, Brandon. Those other eight, let's just put them on over here for now. We're not forgetting about them. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I can't implement 10 things today, and I've been trying to be my own integrator here lately too, and say, okay, head down, eyes forward. Let's just keep on the vision train and keep going in the way that we need to, and not deviate into a bunch of new things. Like a couple new things are okay, but sometimes Brandon's like, let's do it all now.
Yep. Yeah. And then there's sometimes I have like this new thing and I'm like, oh, and I find my notes. I'm like, I thought of that like years ago, like it's
Oh,
just
that
like
is funny.
circling back or whatever. Yeah, it's funny. But like I love what we're talking about because, just even going into when we start a business, we have to go do all the things. We have to do all the marketing, all the stuff, but then like really fine tuning and understanding what is our superpower? What do we need? What do we love to do? In that we're uniquely talented, like we're the ones in our business that have to do that versus here are the things that I'm good at but I don't love doing. Kind of that quadrant if you're talking about traction and EOS,
Yeah.
like like how do you get that stuff off your plate and move or go beyond like just a feeling of like I think I can cover this or the science behind employees.
Yeah. And when did you like see your superpower?
Well, so I've always known that like when I get out with people, that's my superpower. Like I know if I need to make money, I just need to go out and I need to go to networking events. I need to speak at events. If I'm out and I'm having conversations with people, opportunities find me. And it's not going out being like, oh my God, I got to sell Brandon today. But I know if I go out and I just bring myself, my curiosity, like, and I'm trying to add value to people's lives. I'm not thinking necessarily about myself and eating, but I know what I do to help other people and I know how I serve other people that when you go out and you have those conversations, things just happen. Like opportunities come to me. So if I can go out and I know when I'm doing the other things, that's taking my time away. Yeah, when we were sitting down, we were talking about the admin assistant. You're like trying to do the whole like, like let's look at the math. I'm like, I get it. I know the math. I need to just pull the trigger and do it because it's the more for me was the daunting process of like sitting down and going like how many people do I have to meet up with? And you said something that was like, just start, just hire one, like figure it out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest thing of like thinking of that time it was going to take me to get the time off my plate.
Yeah, and you bringing this up when we were eating the other day actually got me thinking, like, what is my superpower? And the more I've thought into this, it's like I've realized it's inspiring others, and that's why I'm a cheese ball. I totally get it. Stay inspired, all that kind of stuff. It is cheesy. My wife thinks I'm cheesy, but she loves the cheese, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't like a good cheddar cheese, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's what I've realized. It's just helping people find their superpower has been one of my biggest superpowers as well. Granted, I don't know how that correlates to money too much, besides with like when we're painting and they get super inspired by our crews and us doing a great job, and sometimes bad things happen to our clients and like showing up even though we're busy with like some flowers or something of that nature. you know that's
Just
what
doing little
jazzes
different
me
things.
up.
Yeah.
There was this guy in Main Street roundabout today. He ran out of gas, and I saw him start walking. I'm like, get in, and I could have easily just been like, oh, I'm in a rush to the job, because today was actually a day I stopped by the job site, and I was like, you know what, God put me on this earth to just kind of help where when I see it, and I have to help. So I took him up there and brought him back, and he was trying to like walk back. I'm like, brother, let's just go. So you're right. Opportunity does find you, but you also have to be looking for it, right?
You absolutely have to be looking at it. And I heard a sermon a few months ago, and I'd always get circled back, and especially with stuff like that, is God has a plan, but He's looking for active participants. Because you think about like, and it's not saying that you're going to get anything out of this, but you were put there in that path for a reason. And what if you just would have drove by?
Yeah. Or it was 2 seconds later when he was just on the regular sidewalk, and I didn't notice it was from the truck.
Exactly.
It's a plan bigger than what we could ever even imagine.
Yep. Yep. And it boils down to like, when you're thinking about starting that business, you're thinking about doing that thing, but you put it off, or you don't do it, and then you have this resentment through your life that you didn't do this thing. God was trying to push you, you just didn't go take the action.
Yeah, yeah. I've realized when you're standing on that edge of the cliff, you're usually like you have this like tight feeling in your chest, and you're like so terrified to jump. But the second after you jump, it just feels like these wings, and you're like turned into a bald eagle just flying across a beautiful lake, and you're about to find a nice bass to snag down and grab for lunch.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a much better description. I was like, I had to get pushed out of the plane at my job. Like it was one of those things. Like I I was like getting bad at my job. I don't say bad. I was getting like what I guess complacent is a good word, or just like I didn't really care. I kept on thinking about starting this business. However, like starting a business sounded really scary when I'm making six figures, and like I came from a very poor background, poor family, all that kind of stuff. And so I started this why of like my why was to provide my family, or to like build my family and like reverse my family circumstances, and like make sure my son like never knew like the not that he doesn't know the life that I grew up in, because it's like I've communicated and shared my experiences, but he just never had to live that life,
He
and
knows
so
of.
he knows of, but he couldn't fathom what that would be like. And so it was like having the house and nice cars and going on vacation and all that thing. And then when you go think about starting a business, that interrupts or disrupts that why. Puts that why in danger. Now you're going and doing something that is like it's unclear whether you're gonna it's scary. It's on you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're kind of like flying a plane, but putting the wings on at the same time
Yeah.
as like being in the air, right?
So of my company, she did me a solid, and she like gave me a nice like boot out the plane. She literally said, she was like, I know you're not gonna quit, and so I'm gonna kick you out. And she gave me a large sum of money to be able to go out and like put a few months into my business where I could go out and build it, and not have to worry about how am I going to pay bills and eat and all that kind of stuff. And man, it was just it. It was when she did that though, and going back to like finish the story is like I kept on saying it was like I got kicked out of the plane, but guess what? The parachute opened.
Ooh, I like that.
It opened. Like we fear it. You know, when I sat there like looking, looking over the ledge, and like somebody had to literally be like, "Nope, you're going. You paid for this experience. You're going." And guess what? It opened. And it's having that faith.
Yeah. Wow. How deep. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. I really can't even imagine leaving a job like what you were saying because I've never had that. You know, I went from a bricklayer union making like $20 an hour to being like, hey, let's go ahead and like do what I'm doing on the side, making more money. So I can't imagine. Came from like exactly what you're saying, like humble beginnings. I think is a good way to
Yeah.
put it. And even where we are now, I'm so blessed and proud. So I couldn't imagine like leaving this to go to something else, right?
But like um, you're gonna get there where you could see where you could do something. You could even go even further.
Yeah. What if it turned out better than you could ever imagine? I think that's the best thing that I've ever read in a book. It's what if it turned out better than you could imagine?
Yep.
And that's resonated with me heavy because it always does. It's not even like what if, it always does.
I had this client, and he fired me. When you're a coach or you're a consultant, people either love you because you tell the truth, or or it hurts their feelings. The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. And the ones that like will really get motivated by the pissed off are great. The ones that like get their feelings hurt will fire you, but they'll usually end up learning the lesson anyways. So I had this client, and it was right at COVID. COVID's happening, and his wife told him that she wanted a divorce, and like everything in our conversations pointed to me that she would there's nothing he could do to change that situation. She'd already made her decision. In So I'm having this conversation with them, and he's like, "What can I do? I want to go on this couples retreat. I want to, convince her to like go on this couples retreat with me and do some therapy." And I'm like, "What if like, because you're not happy either. You just want to stay in this marriage and stay in the marriage. Like you told me, like, like we've had deep conversations. Like, what if the person that's going to make you, like the person that you're meant for is out there, and you're holding yourself back because you don't want change? Like, what if the person that your kids see like light you up, right? Like all of a sudden now you're can make a better impact with your kids and your life because you're just happy, not just even because you found up another person, but because you get to grow yourself as opposed to be constantly being tore down by somebody, like just kind of like, what if in, he didn't really like that, but guess what? He's happy now.
Wow. And
I
you
got to
get,
see that,
yeah.
and he never came back around and said you're right, but I see it.
So what do you think that could relate to like business ownership and stuff like that?
How does it relate to business ownership?
Like happiness. Like I strongly believe it does, but
Yeah.
like as far as like the person running the ship needs to be physically and mentally there and present because if you're, for example, worried about the divorce, you're not going to be as good of a business owner, don't you think?
It affects you in all of your life. And one of the things that we talked about in our previous conversations was how what the kids are seeing in just the way that him and his wife communicated and argued, in like the tension, in like you're not bringing your full self as a father because you've got this other thing going on, and the kids are seeing it, and they're making comments about what's happening. Just that alone, how much impact does that make? Now, okay, let's break it down into your career. If you're constantly being second guessed and told that you're wrong, and when you're at home, when you go home and you get beat up constantly and your self-confidence is getting beat up, are you going to go and be the most successful person?
No, definitely not.
You're going to
Definitely not.
show up, and so what, his career was struggling. And so that's why he came to me originally, is because he was trying to find his purpose. He was trying to find like something that like lit him up, and it wasn't a business. It was like getting really like his life in order, and like growing himself versus putting it on, if I find if this relationship gets better, my life will be better.
Mm, that's that resonates with me. I mean, I've had some bad relationships myself, and ever since finding my wife, it's been, like a 10x season, over and over again because I have so much support at home. She's my backbone, and I believe you were telling me something very similar now, and
Yeah.
it's incredible what great relationships will do, even from like your spouse to your friend circle. I think that's important too, having
100%.
people that multiply you and make you lift up. I've got a couple great friends like that, and then I'm meeting new ones all the time. And just like you said, going out and being out and about gives you those opportunities to find those people. A lot of people are like, well, where do I go? Well, just start
Start.
anywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Where'd you go?
um Back home down south.
Yeah.
That's where I found my wife, if I'm being honest.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, with friends though, it's a little bit harder for me because I get so I'm a workaholic, if I'm being honest. So I do have to take and really make sure I set some time for stuff like that. And because my friends do have my back, I've got one buddy that will come to every kid's birthday party and do anything that I ever ask. He's always there. So that's been on my mind heavy lately. Like, hey, I gotta go do something with Matt. You know what I mean? And make sure that I pour into relationships as well.
Oh, it's so huge. It's not just being the taker.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I guess there's seasons where you need that, right? Like when you're going through those downs, you do need that your cup filled up.
Yep.
It's just when you like make sure you are patching the holes if you do have holes in it, because after a while people stop pouring, you know. And some people, it seems, I feel like the same way with you. Our cup's overflowing, so it's most of the time it's really easy to pour into other people's, but
Yeah.
it's almost pointless if there's holes in it, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then if you're not refilling either, because that's important too. If you are going out and filling everybody's, how are you filling your cup back up? It's the same thing with the oxygen mask in the airplane.
Yeah, that's another cheesy comment that I love, or metaphor. It's like you got to put your oxygen mask on first. You're right. That's a very very valid point.
Well, and even going back to like talking about now you're hiring people or you have a team and stuff like that, going from like being a bricklayer, starting your business, like there's a huge learning curve from here to here. And then there's that learning curve in taking care of your people, you
Yeah,
know?
I'm at a like weird stance now because I have more open blocks. So we recently hired on a salesperson, Cameron, and that takes on. I'm used to doing 20 estimates a week, so each estimate's about 40 minutes. You can see how that's a good amount of time, and then also bringing in our production management. So that was another 20, 30 hours a week that I was spending just doing that alone. Switching our admin into doing project coordination saved a ton. But right now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, so I need to fill it with stuff like this, meeting more people, and then we have scheduled, training blocks for our leadership, and still just those one-on-ones, even with all of our painters. Like today, before coming here, I spent a good amount of time with one of our newer painters, John, and I hadn't seen him much. I've been out for like 3 weeks, so I haven't seen him too much. So today was a good time, you know, we were waiting on some paint to dry. He was about to go start work, and I'm like, brother, come stand in the sunshine for a minute. And we just stood there
Oh,
and
dude.
we talked. And something really funny he was telling me about. He had a blind electrician. A blind electrician. It struck me to a chord, and
That
it's like,
sounds like dangerous.
yeah. So the guy has somebody that goes around with him to tell him colors of the chords and like feel like make sure that it's not hot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what a way! Like, talk about jumping. That guy is leaping.
Yeah.
I
That's a
mean,
lot of faith.
yeah, yeah. And it's just those little stories. You don't get it if you don't go out. And like that's why I keep circling back to what you just said, because it's hitting me so hard. It's like, wow, you're right. When I am reclusive, like, man, I'm not benefiting anybody else, and I'm not benefiting myself. Like helping others and listening to others like fills my cup up. So I feel like it's almost impossible for it to be empty, because it's
Yeah.
getting filled up during the time of pouring over. It's just when that energy's not getting, like, you want to see it multiply. Like you pour up a cup, you want to see them come back with a gallon jug.
Yes.
You know, doing that, it's like, okay, what can I do to change this? Or maybe I need to pour into somebody else's cup, because the more we sit here and talk, or with the team and talk, I found like the right team members, they come back with that gallon jug.
Yep.
You
Yep.
you give them a little bit of water, and they're like, hey boss, I got this jug for us. And that's been a game changer for us because we've hired a lot of people and a lot, like I said, anyone with a pulse for a while. And sometimes you think that they're the best, and then you actually take and spend that little bit of time. And you're like, actually, I hate working with this person. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine what other people feel like.
The 2 beers and a puppy rule. I've never heard that. That's really good.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Moore. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy's a genius. I like it because you got to be able to trust people in your home. And if you can't trust them to be in your home, how are you going to send them to someone else's?
Well, and for years I looked at it, so I was like, I had 9 retail locations that I oversaw, and for years I would like if I had a good client or a friend or a family member or somebody would reach out to me and be like, hey, I needed to get a new phone. Who should I go see? And I'd be like, oh, you're in Ipsy, go see Matt. Go see. I'd have like my person or my couple of people that I'd send them, and then I thought one day I was like, man, if I've got to like sit and think about the 1 or 2 or 3 people I have in each location that I want to send my people to, then I've got a problem because we're only as strong as our weakest person. And if there are people that I've got to apologize for, I've got to change that.
Oh, that resonates hard. So in a sales form, because we created a sales form after like going on estimates, I would have preferred crew. And we actually have gotten rid of that because now all of our crews can perform.
Mm, yes. Yeah.
That hits hard.
It
Wow.
hits hard
Oh my
when you don't
gosh.
have to worry about that.
Yeah,
How many people are apologizing for the one person that they have?
a ton. And that was me for a while. And sometimes like the hard thing is looking in the mirror and realizing that sometimes it's you and you need to have have some of that knowledge gained.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, just jumping into this, yeah, I had a ton of experience, but not running a business. So, when somebody's upset that we were a week late or something like that, and I didn't communicate beforehand, we actually had a job like get lost because of that, and I was mad at them. And then like looking back, I'm like, wow, Brandon, that was kind of like your fault, or a
Yeah.
crew messes something up, and it's easy to get mad at the crew or whatever, or even the homeowner. But ultimately, it's like, what standards am I setting? What standards are coming from the top down?
It's huge. And we could look and we could blame it on other people. It may be partially their fault. But at the end of the day, what do we want to be? Like are we fine being mediocre? Are we fine like constantly having to apologize for not being at our best, or do we want to grow? I had this situation when I was in management, and I grew our location. We were the top location in our company. Like when I started, it was the worst location in the company. It was getting its ass kicked. They were like, "You need to get leadership." Like we were an agent of Verizon. Verizon said, "You told my boss, you need to get a leader out there. You need to get somebody to take over this location and like get it going quickly, or we're gonna pull our licensing out, and you'll just have to close down the location." And so I go out there. It's the worst location in our company. Within a year and a half, it was the top performing company or location in our company. And I had a little bit of an ego. Look what I did. Like, look, this is amazing. And the owner, the mentor, or my mentor, the guy that came in and changed my life, like he would kick my ass and he really helped me shift perspectives and become a good leader. And so I've got all these, I'm training people, they're selling, we're out selling everybody. But guess what? The little operations things I was finding not important. So like there's any given day you could come in my location and I'd have like 7 or 8 cash deposits because I wasn't making daily deposits. And so you could open up my cash drawer and we'd have like thick envelopes full of cash on the south side of Lansing where we got broken into. Yeah, once a month.
Wow.
So yeah, right, dumb. But it was one of those things, and I'd be like, "But we're so busy, like, and then we're gonna go at night and drop off this wad of cash in the like South Lansing, and I'll just do it tomorrow morning." And then tomorrow morning, first thing, a customer's at the door, and so next thing you know, we're busy the whole entire day, and before you know it, I've got 6 or 7 days stacked up, and it was just a reoccurring issue. So one day, I get an email from the owner of the company who didn't bother never ever to come up to me and say, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Oh my God, you turned this location around. Like that's unbelievable. What are you doing?" Like never really acknowledged what I did from a good accomplishment. Sent me this email, and him and my mentor Dean were in Vegas, and he was like, "Hey," he was like, basically the email said, "You suck. Why do I even have you as an employee?" Like it was like, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. So like he sends me this email of like, how do I get you to do your simple job? Like I'm sitting here with Dean and he's telling me that he's been having several conversations with you and you can't do it. How can I instruct him to do a better job to make you do a better job? And why do we even keep you if you can't do this thing? And I read this email and I was fucking pissed. I was like, angry. I'm like, this guy, who is this guy? Like, he hasn't even like said great job. Like, look what you did. Like, this was a major accomplishment that I pulled off. And now he's gonna like bitch at me about this little thing and blah 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 blah. So I went home and I was fuming and I wrote up this whole long email basically telling this guy where he could take his job and like I'm gonna take my talents to South Beach like LeBron, like I'm gonna like I can go anywhere. Like and the truth is I probably could. But I write up this email and then I like stopped and I had this like epiphany. And I was like, what do I want to accomplish here? What do I want to happen? Like this guy that Dean that was mentoring me was like, I knew that I had a good thing and that I wasn't done learning yet. And I'm like, yeah, I could go somewhere else, but what's going to be that result? And right now I feel like I'm getting so much growth that if I walk away from it, like I feel like I'm not getting what's best for me. I'm not, what do I want out of this situation? So I deleted the email and I pulled out a notebook and I wrote down every single day of the week. I wrote down every single thing that needed to be accomplished in our location, like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And I sat down and I wrote down on Mondays we do this, on Tuesdays we do this, on Wednesdays we do this. And then I created like this delegation of like, okay, every day I'm going to come in and I'm going to delegate to people what their responsibility is for the day. And if they don't get it done, I'm calling them up at 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, did you get that done? No? Okay, before you go home, make sure you get that done. And before I knew it, like it takes a few weeks. People like, especially if you've never done anything like this before and people aren't used to you being accountable and like leading, they will test your fence and they will think that it'll just fall off and you're not going to stay with it. I stayed disciplined with it. And it became to where our company, our location not only became the best company and our best location in our company, we became the top performing location in the whole entire country for indirect agents. And when I left that company, one of my friends took my place as the leader of that store. And he was like, dude, I don't even have to do anything. I just show up and everybody just does their thing. He was like, you created like an automatic dog feeder. You created this system in this process. And it was just because I got my ass kicked and I had to like ask myself, what do I want to happen to me? Yeah. It's not about somebody else. Somebody else, he could have been wrong.
Yeah. And instead
what's my responsibility in this?
Exactly. And you could have like literally flipped and like sent that email, gone to another company. Same thing happened again. Oh, different company.
Yeah.
Oh, different company. Oh, different company.
And it's all their fault.
Yep. And I think a lot of people end up living like that forever.
Yeah.
I mean, forever. And it's kind of sad.
It's sad. It's really sad. I have a hard time with victim mentality people because I was somebody that was caught in my victim mentality. It was everybody else's fault. The reason why I was in my situation, my abusive dad, like we grew up poor, or like all these situations. If that was that guy that was like, of course it happened. It's just my luck. Like I ran out of gas again. It wasn't because I didn't stop at the gas station. It's just been because of my luck. What's next? What's next? Oh man. Now, and guess what? When you're looking for the other shoe to drop, it drops every single time.
Yeah. And I love those people that are like, it comes in threes. I'm like, you know what? It comes in sevens. Great luck comes in sevens. Everybody's like, oh, you're lucky. I'm like, yeah, I'm the luckiest man alive.
Yep.
I mean, look, like I'm so thankful for my life. I'm so thankful for my wife. I'm so thankful for my kids and my job.
Yep.
And it came from showing up and constantly showing up and getting your ass kicked all the time. Because guess what? Still getting my ass kicked on stuff. It does, even though all this stuff is great, I still get my ass kicked. But when I'm down, it's like it's time to double down.
Yes. Yeah. And because, man, we're creating this pattern if we're blaming everybody else. Like at the end of the day, who cares if it's somebody else's fault? What are you going to do?
Yeah. And then when you take and flip that over to yourself, then guess what? Oh my gosh, every single time it's your fault. What can I do better? Because ultimately, even if it's someone on your team or someone you care about that did mess up, what could I do better to help them? What did I miss? What could I do a little bit differently? And would that have caused a different result? Instead of always just pointing the finger, it's like, okay, let's take some accountability. And there's still so much stuff to learn. Years old, you're still figuring that stuff out.
Do you know about the reticular activation system?
No.
Okay, so like it sounds like a really cool feature in your car, but it's actually like a part of our physiology. So in the base of our spinal cord and where our brain and our spinal cord meet, there's this like little, like about that big. It's called the reticular activation system, and this is like our human algorithm. It's like a social media algorithm. So
Hmm.
it like basically tells us like it values what we deem as important. It takes our values and it helps us have a view and a perspective of the world. And so because there's right now at any given moment there's too many things going on for your mind to comprehend and process it all. And so our minds do one of three things: they delete, distort, or we generalize information. We're like compiling and compacting. And so if you think about this, the best way to explain it is, have you ever bought a car and you never saw that car on the road before and now you see it everywhere?
All the time.
Are you a trendsetter or was that car always there?
I used to think trendsetter, right? That was the ego talking now.
Yeah, yeah. That car was always there, but it was never important to you. And so you never saw it. Before I started riding a Harley, I didn't think that anybody in Brighton rode Harleys. I thought that Brighton was probably a pretty, like, they probably frowned upon Harleys. And then I got a Harley and I'm like, oh my God, I live in a biker town. Like, there were so many Harleys riding around. Like, I hear them all over the place, but I didn't have any value or importance to it. And now all of a sudden I see them everywhere.
Yeah, and just like that, with you talking about, you see opportunity everywhere when you go out.
And guess what I find?
Opportunity.
When you say I'm the luckiest man,
Find
guess
luck.
what you find? You find luck.
Yeah.
Versus, like, I had this whole talk the other day. When we were texting the other day, you asked me how my day was going, and I'm like, man, I had this fire talk, and it was like one of my biggest pet peeves is when you go out and you meet people, and like, and when you ask somebody how they're doing, what is the number one thing that you get told?
Good.
Good. Then, so, man, you guys aren't paying attention. Most people, when you ask them how they're doing, not too bad.
Oh, you're right.
No, most people don't say good. If you take inventory, and I'll challenge you on this over the weekend, ask people how they're doing. You're going to get okay or not too bad.
Not too bad.
What does that mean?
Actually, I lied. Living the dream.
But not in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Living the dream, sarcastic. One of my missions is to say living the dream and be completely like truthful, honest with it. I'm living the dream. And when I say it differently. I'm living the dream. Like I'm the luckiest man and when I say it, people are like, whoa, what do you got going on? Right? It's a whole different energy and attitude. And I got told yesterday I have a coffee. I don't know if you know I have a coffee line. And I got told yesterday, somebody told me that has known me for a little bit. I didn't know you had a coffee. And she's like, but I've always wondered I see you. And she's like, I've always wondered, how does a Jason Tracy have so much energy? And she's like, that makes sense. You have a coffee. And I'm like, well, like that's great branding. I'd love to do the commercial. Like, you want energy like me? Drink my coffee. I have the energy anyways. The coffee's great. It's a great tasting coffee, but like, that's not really why I have the energy. It's that energy. But like, if you want to have that energy like me and you want to be noticed, it doesn't take much. The differences are just little inches around us. And so I use this example in my talk of like, if you go to a gas station and you meet somebody, or it's like lady that works behind the gas station counter, and you ask them how they're doing, 99% of the time, they're going to say, not too bad. Just their mindsets, the way they operate. And guess what? They're sitting behind the counter, not too bad, or blah, blah. They're like barely making it through the day. They're barely talking to anybody. They're so troubled. They're so disgruntled. Life's so hard. And they're attracting more of that.
Yeah, but you could be that little chain break. So I have this thing, my wife laughs at me all the time for doing it, but they say, not too bad. How about you? Well, I thought good.
Yes.
Good. How about you? I always go, I was doing okay, but now I'm doing so much better now that I see you.
Yes. Yeah. And now they're like, what? It changes it messes with them. It's a pattern interrupt.
Exactly. And I love how you said it's just a couple inches. It's like you have this thought. I mean, take it back to being in high school. Oh, you think a girl's cute? Just tell her, right?
Tell her.
Oh, okay. Now you think there might be a business opportunity there. Well, try. Go ask. Oh, I've passed by this 1,000 times. I should walk in there. Pull over and walk in there, right? There's a movie, Jim Carrey's in it. It's called Yes Man. It's a little extreme, right? A little extreme, like maybe not say yes to absolutely everything. But I think saying yes to as much as you can truly benefits your life.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I met with a muralist, and Brian Fritz. He can draw, man.
I love this guy.
He is a
He's
great
in my boot camp.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. That's good to know. So
Yeah.
I met with him yesterday, and absolutely chill. And I when he asked about it, I'm like, I'd never had a single person ask me about getting a mural done. Like I'm not sure how I can help him. But
Because first off, painters don't usually sell. Artistic people don't usually, not painters like you, but
yeah,
artistic people don't usually have a sales brain.
that makes sense.
They give stuff away for free because they love to do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Brian actually is like, boom, you want a mural? Like he's actually like on it, which is why I was like, dude, you need to be in the boot camp because I think that this is a little bit of a gap.
Yeah. So funny enough, we have a lot of aligned interest. He plays disc golf. We're actually going to be going playing disc golf this spring, summer. Made a friend from it, and maybe I help his business too. Maybe he helps mine, but ultimately, like because he was just trying to connect. Now it's another one of those avenues, like what we were talking about just a couple minutes ago,
Yep.
and just saying yes ended up with that. Even though we have such a busy schedule, like there's always stuff to do and busy, and rush to this and rush to that, but I've really just been trying to slow down, be present, be intentional.
Well, because everything's busy, but like, do we really, what are we spending our time on? How
Yeah.
many times are we picking up our phone and looking at it? I know I catch myself like, why do I have my phone in my hand right now?
Oh
And I
my
know you
God.
have a cool like app set up to where you're like watching yourself.
Yeah, but ultimately it's still like you can press like
Yeah,
forget it.
you can still get
And
past
I
it.
still do that, right? And find myself just drifting sometimes and it's like, "Oh my gosh." Like you start to go post or something like that or schedule your post and the next thing you know you're watching videos for 30 minutes.
Well, and it goes back to what you were talking about, like driving through the roundabout and seeing the guy that runs out of gas and like stopping and taking that opportunity because it's so easy to keep your head buried in your own world, whether it's your phone or your business or your family, whatever it is, and look past. And I truly believe our biggest opportunities are in our relationships and the relationships we build. Like when we're open, when we notice and we make eye contact with somebody and we start talking to them, there's a whole different energy, a whole different relationship created. And one of my favorite things is like learning how, like meeting with somebody and like having an amazing connection, and then realizing they're connected with like one of my really good friends. Like how small the world actually is.
Yeah, or joining a networking group online and then knowing like four or five of the people in there and had no clue, and everybody's like, "Hey, Brandon," and you're like a little worried about like joining. You're like, "Is this going to be beneficial?" Oh my gosh, it's not even about that. It's not even always about like being beneficial to you. Like sometimes it's a
500%.
little bit deeper. Well, 99% of the time it's deeper than you could ever imagine, and
Yep.
it tends to be better than you could ever imagine.
Yep.
I mean, even down to this podcast, like no expectations, just going in for intention and having a good time with my buddy over here, Jason. And it's been a great time already.
Well, and that's the thing is people always ask me like, "Can you send me the questions beforehand?" And I'm like, "Listen, I have an idea where this is going to go, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that we're just jamming because I knew us. We're going to be like, you're going to be on the show a few times because like there's like stuff that was like we're just going to jam about, but like this is real and people need to hear it."
Yeah. Something that I did, like one of the intentions that I did want to come into with this though, is like just telling everybody out there, use social media. It is mind blowing how much it will help your business, how much
Yep.
it's helped my business. I imagine it helped yours. Just post. Oh my gosh, what if somebody's a hater on there? I get haters on there every single day. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, don't we all take care of our family? Like, good job, buddy. Yeah, I'm glad that you are too.
Yep.
Like it might be a jab. I'll take it. And you know what? I'll slide it to the side, and then I'll give you a high five with the other hand.
Yep.
Because you know what? Love's all we got. And if you go in there worried about what's going to happen, you're never going to post. You're never going to do anything. If you're worried about what Jason's going to think of me when I go on this podcast, or if you're worried about what Brandon will think when we have a one-on-one, like who cares? Like
Who
ultimately what
cares?
matters is what you think of you, right?
They say the biggest fear and the biggest fear over dying is public speaking.
Hmm.
Like you'd rather die than speak in public.
Oh,
Like, because like at the end of the day, if I die, what does it matter what people thought of me? Like I'm not gonna feel that shame in death. And I have a client that a few weeks ago we posted this post and we shared it in groups, and she does in-home care, and she had these like three pictures of her refrigerator, and her whole entire point is that like most caregivers, when the client's sleeping or they don't need you, like it's time to like be on the phone or like watch TV or basically be entertained or like just pass the time. But for her mindset is like, how do I continue serving? And she's like, I had these people that their refrigerator was like they had like penicillin growing in their refrigerator. So when they were sleeping, she cleaned out and threw away their bad stuff and cleaned the refrigerator. And like the before and after pictures were pretty staggering. And so I posted these posts in these community groups, and there was the Grand Blink community group. This post blew up really quickly, and there were people on there. Like there was one guy that was like, "I counted there was 4 yogurts in there that you didn't put back in the refrigerator. You're stealing the yogurts." Like like these people that are being cynical and like bashing her for like cleaning out this refrigerator. And she messaged me and she was like, "Oh man, I feel like I have to defend myself." And I'm like, what you have to realize is that these are just people. They're people. And I'm like, they're the same people that like Jesus performed miracles in front of them and they mocked him and crucified him. Like what are you gonna do that's better than that? Like you're cleaning out refrigerators. Who cares? Like, like you got to understand the type of people you're dealing with, and you also got to understand you did a good job. She did a good job of like responding to the post, and it wasn't from a response and like trying to argue with the people. She responded and as who she was and what actually happened, and they're good responses. And I'm like, that's a blessing when somebody wants to hate on us because it gives us a chance to prove our character. We're not there to convince them. We're
Yeah.
not there to change their heart. We're there to have proof to other people that this is who we are. We are who we say we are. And when we're allowed to respond, like, cool, because those haters are helping support us.
Yeah. And if you look at anybody that's actually like that has the attention of people, there's a split. There's always a divide.
Yeah.
Because there's multiple different types of people.
Yeah.
And like not everybody likes jazz.
No. And so what did your social media do? It allows people to say, "Oh, I don't like Brandon. I don't like Jason. I don't like that energy. I don't want that positivity in my life." No, get that out of here. No, but like there's some people that I might annoy the crap out of, and that's cool. I don't want that person in my life anyways, because like those people that I work with from a coaching standpoint frustrate the crap out of me. I don't like victim mentality. I've had clients that like it's everybody else's fault, and cool, like go be over there. Like here's your money back. I don't want to deal with you.
My favorite thing to say to that is you're right.
You're right. You are absolutely right.
Isn't it like Confucius says, like he who says that he can and he who says he can are both usually right.
It's Henry Ford. Or maybe Confucius said it before, but
I don't know. I picked it up from somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at the memorization of that stuff, but I got the moral of the message. It's saying, say you can. I mean, you can do it.
I would have salespeople that I'd interview, and they'd be like, "Can you make money here?" They'd be like, "You can't." And they'd be like, "What? What do you mean?" And I'm like, anybody that has ever asked me that question the way that you asked it, that I've hired, has failed. And they're like, "Why?" And I'm like, because reticular activation system. Your mind is looking for the negative. The people that come in and say, "Can you really make money here?" Our minds are excellent servants, but terrible masters. Our mind, if we're programming it like, "Can I really make money here?" Your mind is now going to work to prove that you can't make money here. And so what do those people do? They go and hang out with the other low performers. They go find the lowest performers in the company and say, "Can you make money here?" And then those people tell them the worst things. "No, you can't make money here.
I hear they're hiring $1 more an hour over across the street."
They're over across the street. They feed the top people. They just take care of them and blah, blah, blah. Like, like everybody, like victim salespeople mentality. And then they like instantly prove themselves right. I'd have people that would start off really good and they prove themselves they couldn't make money, and they would like start performing bad. It was the craziest thing.
It hurts your soul to see.
It hurts my soul because it's just a mindset. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right.
Oh my goodness, that's some deep stuff. Let's see, where are we going from here, Jason? Where are we going from here? Where can we take this?
Where can we take this? Let's go back to you, because we're like, I'm talking a lot, but
I like to hear you talk, baby.
Yeah. Your voice sounds so sexy.
Ooh. Smooth jazz radio.
Smooth jazz radio.
Tune in tonight at 8.
Smooth jazz.
About me, let's see. Born over in Newport News, Virginia. I've moved 17, 18 times, moved a ton as a kid. Not because my dad was in the military.
That was going to be my next question.
Nope. We were just, we had a cash flow problem. I feel like that's a way better way to say it, because I used to always have that victim mentality, right?
Yep.
But we had a cash flow problem, and now we haven't moved since I've been an adult, because I'm the one that is controlling the cash flow. And no matter what, even if it breaks down to absolutely having to go cook at Olive Garden again, I will. I've cooked at Olive Garden. I was Super Dad. You guys can look me up.
I'm going to look you up
That
after
was
this.
that was a lot of fun. Went all across the East Coast. Never like did a huge touring. I wasn't really that big, but oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And that's where I really learned like selling attention. I've always loved selling. So like when I was a kid, we would sell tech decks at school. Those are the finger skateboards. So we would go buy them for like $10 and sell them for 20. Um, and that's just where it evolved. And I've just always absolutely loved the art of taking something and making it a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And I feel like through sales you can do that. Let's see more about me. Went to North Carolina, lived with my grandparents. That was an incredible experience. That's where I met my wife, and then we were able to reconvene. That was incredible. Went from there up here to Michigan because my dad lived up here.
Mm.
Yep, really that was my senior year. Probably wasn't the best time to move in with just an all dude house. We partied a lot, went through that party phase, and then got my life together for my son. And that's why building this business was so important. I've always felt like they can have this when they're older, and I pray that they take it and run with it because we're gonna be Brighton's painter, and we're gonna continue being Brighton's painter for hopefully hundreds of years. That's the goal. I want to be that company that is remembered 3 generations from now. And building that is very important to me. And that's why making these connections and taking and pouring and pouring and pouring into my people matter so much because I want our clients to feel it from each angle. I mean, getting those messages like I did yesterday,
Mm.
made that post today about Eli. Oh my gosh, it's everything because I used to think only we could get those when I'm there, when I'm
Mm.
the one that's like, hey, how's everything going? No, you just need personable people that
Yep.
care,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
And as far as like things I like to do, I love business. I know that sounds crazy, but it doesn't feel like work to me. Obviously, the paperwork and all that kind of stuff that feels like work, but the visionary and like talking to people about business and pushing business that is everything to me. It's it's truly changed my life realizing that you can use your voice as a superpower. And I always thought like, oh, it might be ego. Well, some of it is ego, right? And I always have to keep that in check because I just want to help people and continue helping people. Just like you said, her cleaning out the refrigerator, going that little extra mile. Sometimes we paint that extra little bathroom, or oh, there's a one vanity that we didn't paint, but I mean we're here and we have time, and just doing that extra little thing, and then I do that a lot more in business. So I have to say, okay, I need to do that with my wife too and my
Mm.
kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and that's what I've been working on here this year, actually, is just like being more present at home. I hope my wife sees this and thinks that I'm doing a good job. I feel like I am. We're planning our trip out to Cape Cod this summer. That's going to be incredible. You said that you're going on a vacation this summer too, right?
I don't have anything lined up yet, but I need to start looking because the warm weather is calling me for sure.
Yeah, and the longer you take, the
I
less is
know,
it
but
there.
it's one of those things like loving work time can fly by really, really quickly when you just dive in and you're working to that point, and so all of a sudden we're going into March.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I did this thing called a Life Arrow workshop with my buddy Jason Paris. He's also a serial entrepreneur. The guy is incredible. And this Life Arrow workshop helped me more than I can explain because it's like, okay, who are you? What's your purpose? In a bunch of different categories. And it starts like spiritual, yourself, spouse, kids, your business, and then to the world, right? Like so like each has a category and then you have goals and then it's like tracking it per quarter. And I've actually finally got back on track of tracking it, right?
Yeah.
And one of it is book the family trip. So we get 10 different members, or it's like 13 different members of our family to go together. And I know there's a lot of
That's
people that
cool.
do this, right? But when you sit there and are like, oh, well, everybody else does it, I can't do it. Like, well, sometimes people are doing it for a freaking reason, right? Um,
Yep.
and it's been one of those incredible blessings, just trying to connect with people more and more, seeing my sister as much as possible because from the South, eating with people and feeding people, that's something that really fills us up. So when people come over and have dinner with us and we're able to break bread, Oh my gosh, talk about getting your my cup filled up.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, and that's cool. I love what a big part of coffee and grit, and just even how I'm wired is I love understanding why people are who they are, and like even hence the superpower thing and everything else is because like thinking about how one you moved so many places and now you're like stable, you're in this community, like you're dominating a community, to the point where people know you and you're like come into this group thinking that no one's going to know you and everyone's like, hey Brandon, like we've been waiting to meet you because you've been making this you're out there, like you're dominating this community. And like I'd have to imagine like being someone that you've moved around and didn't have that local community. How does that play into that?
Well, if I'm being honest, like sometimes it like makes me want to like self-sabotage. I know that might
Yeah.
sound like
Nope. I
crazy.
totally makes sense.
It's like, oh, things like even though I'm always
It's too
looking for the
calm.
right thing,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, I mean, even a couple like 4 or 5 years ago, like before it really took off, I'm like, it started getting good, and I'm like, well, maybe we should move to North Carolina. I could do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like one of my goals when I had my son is I don't want him to move all the time. So it's like, okay. And even though he's not some star student and he's not as outgoing as me, I pray like, that comes. And I do get a little jealous when people's kids are exactly like them and stuff and are always, wanting to do their exact hobbies. Right now, my son's not exactly in that. So hopefully we realign soon. But the goal is still there of I'm not going to make us move around, even though like literally we have my dad up here and my brother. We don't really have many family up here. So that's when it comes to that wanting to self-sabotage, when it comes to all of the people that I've met and built this business up, it's actually kind of like invigorating because it took a lot to push through that wanting to self-sabotage and just leave. Because sometimes, it's like, well, I put all this work in and I'm not seeing the result yet.
Mm.
And like even still sometimes I'm like, wow, like we're a really big company at this point. Even though we're not a big company, but like in comparison to when we started, it was big. And now I'm like, well, when am I going to see the results still, right? Because we're always pouring right back into it, like
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
pouring. But this is actually part of that result. Being able to do this, going to Miami this Sunday, like
Yep.
I mean, doing different stuff, and this ball doesn't stop. I was out for the 3 weeks. I think Andy made sure that 17 jobs got completed right. No, like there was hiccups, and he handled them. They didn't come to me, and that's beautiful. Cameron was able to sell like 4 or 5 jobs. I mean, how beautiful. And then
No, it's beautiful.
and even though it wasn't like some catapult, it was still just like a realization like, wow, I've built something that can run without me. Granted, I still was doing my social media thing, even though I was like dying. I that that that's something I can never stop because it's done so much for us. Like even on our next door, like our next door people, man. Oh my gosh, they like live and die red, white, and blue, and not just USA. Inspired by design. I posted yesterday about changing my logo, and everyone's like, "Don't you dare! Don't you know what happened to Cracker Barrel?"
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was eye opening for me because some people and myself included, like you'll post and you won't get any traction, like nobody likes it, but
Yeah.
dude, so many
Yep.
people see it.
So many people see it.
Like
Yep.
even though yeah, the viral ones feel good and they do generate more leads usually, but the report is still built by being daily. We get recommended by people like to other people that have never used us
Wow.
just
That's
from
amazing.
just from posting, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean,
People are like, I've seen him over and over again. He must
exactly,
be good.
exactly. Or it's just like top of mind. Like, what do you see? What did you call the
Reticular activation system.
yes, the reticular activation system.
Yep.
They want that endorphins to be released by recommending someone, and then they're like, oh well, I haven't used him, but he is a great guy, and he must have great people on his team.
So, what did you? Obviously, social media has been such a big part of what you're doing. How did you get started in that? Did you do anything with social media before you started your business?
Yeah, the super dad, the
Makes sense.
DJ, and so
Yep.
that's what sprouted it all. Because like music, it's hard to get to a bunch of people, so you're just trying to boast it online. And then still sometimes I realize I'm a little small minded with it, because it's like, okay, I've got meta figured out, and I do next door and I do a couple other things, but like, what about some long form content like this on YouTube?
Yep.
What about creating stuff on YouTube? What about like all the other stuff? And then it got me thinking, like, okay, we're really just selling attention. Granted, we're selling time and trust, like, to our clients, but to be able to get our clients to come to us, to have their attention.
Yep.
So how do I get the attention? I don't want to do it in a super negative way. I've tried a bunch of different avenues. What got me into it is seeing the results from it, and seeing like there that you get so much back from it. And it's almost like it helps your public speaking a little bit too,
Oh, 5,000%.
and
Yep.
your writing, your copywriting,
Yep.
because like writing up these stories, I've gotten where I actually just write in a journal every week too, and that's weird for me. I never could have imagined writing in a journal, but getting some of these thoughts out, and it's like a place to just export, 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 and it's fun for me. I mean, even when, John Doe 35 comments saying like, "You post too much. You shouldn't." I still get messages. You shouldn't post every day, because that deters your ideal like client. I'm like, no, it actually lets like people know about me. So that's kind of why. And then like after doing it for a while, people, and you get good at it. Some people are like, I really enjoy your post. Like, I love your writing and stuff like that. And oh, this makes my day. Again, like I said, my superpower is inspiring people.
Yep.
And when you use your superpower, you feel a lot better.
Yep.
So
Yep.
now it's just like, how do I multiply that?
Well, and then this is the thing for people running their businesses or people in business is like, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you stand out and be different than the rest of your competition? And it's just being you
Your story.
outwardly, your story, your experiences, like what you like. And as you're putting that out there, people get a chance to decide whether they know you, like you, or trust you. And the ones that don't, they just go away. Or they make a bad comment and go away. Either way.
And that's good anyways.
It's good anyways.
Because
I'd rather them leave the comment. Thank you.
exactly, because it would stink to find out while we're painting your house that we
Yeah, 1,000%. One of the first videos I made, I went to the barber shop and I was getting my hair cut. And one of my things is like when people say they don't remember, they have a hard time remembering people's names. It's not a memory issue. Unless you have a short-term memory issue or a head injury or something, we all have the same ability to remember people's names. The reason we don't remember people's names is because we're thinking what we're going to say next when they're introducing themselves. Because we're worried about what we're going to sound like as opposed to remembering their names. That's 99% of the time that we're just in our head. We're not listening to what they're saying. And so I had this conversation with my barber who said he didn't remember people's names very well. And the long story short is it was really cool, made a big difference, brought some energy. All the barbers there were like practicing and like they like remembered my son's name and they were having fun. It was like an enjoyable experience. Well, I took my son to basketball practice and I made this little quick video and I was like pumped up. And it was a Friday night and I'm like, telling the story. And at the end I was like, have a fucking amazing weekend, blah, blah, blah. And I put it out there, and this guy called me up and was like, "Hey, Jason, I saw that video you put out there about the remembering names." I was like, "Oh, man, thanks." He's like, "Yeah, it was really inspiring. It was really awesome. And then you ruined it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, you dropped that F-bomb. And, I just wanted to call you and tell you that, like, you're a professional. And if, like, you're going to drop that if you're going to say that kind of language, you're going to really rub some people wrong." And I was like, man, I really took that to heart. I like got out of the phone. I was like, man, maybe I should start curbing myself. And I started thinking, and I was like, fuck that. Because if I get somebody in a coaching session and like we're talking and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck, like, and they're gonna be like, whoa, like, and I portrayed myself as somebody over here that's like fits in this nice professional box that I'm this person over, and then I show up as this person. I've now false advertised.
Oh man, that's super deep. I like that a lot, actually.
I want to be me.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. You gotta be you. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I have a lot of family that when I cuss on my stories and stuff, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I hate it when you cuss," but like that's kind of who I am. I
Yeah.
mean, and I try not to do it around my kids as much, right? But it still happens.
It happens.
It happens. I feel like as long as you're not using it angrily towards someone, does it really fucking matter?
No. No, it doesn't. Sometimes it's really passionate. I had this mastermind. I've told this story a few times, so if you're a regular listener, I apologize. But this it's just a really good story. This guy, I was in a mastermind group when I first started. Have you ever been in a mastermind group?
No, I actually haven't.
They're actually really cool if you have the right people. It's like a group of like, let's say 8 business owners. Preferably you're all on the same like path or trajectory, or you're going, iron sharpens iron type of thing. And then each week a different person sits in the hot seat and tells, these are my struggles I'm having, and everybody in the group like helps you, like ask you questions, like helps you. And over the next week you implement or try to do the things, and you come back and report, and then somebody else is in the hot seat. Well, this guy, he was in the hot seat. He's a web designer. He was talking about he had his business for 20 years. He used to be really successful and passionate about it. And now he's like, over the years, he's lost his customers. He's lost his excitement. And he's kind of just like, just limping along. He hasn't followed up and called any of the past clients that he's called, that messaged. And he's like, doesn't know what he's going to do. And he's just kind of like waffling around. And everybody in the group was like, oh, John, you should like post a Facebook post, or like you should, and they were just giving them like really like, they weren't really empowering them. They were just giving them like simple little excuse things, right? And I was getting really frustrated because they like, what is this group of? Why am I even spending my time with this group? And they're just like, they're like letting this guy like basically cry himself into depression. I'm like, I can't stand this. And so I erupted, and I was like, dude, what you really need to do is stop being a pussy.
Ooh.
And he was like, he's like, what? I was like, and everybody was like, oh shit, like what Jason just say? And I'm like, you're sitting here and you're telling me you've had all these great clients and you've had all these great things, like call them up. Like these people that you're thinking about, be like, call them up and be like, man, it's been so long. I was just thinking about you. What is up? How's it going? Like, just start stoking your, like, pick up the phone. Instead of sitting here and being like, oh, maybe I'll try a Facebook post and like, hopefully it works, and like crying about it, like just pick up the phone. I'm like, or quit, because maybe you don't love this anymore. And maybe it's just time to quit. I'm like, you have one of the other two things. And I said it. I didn't know this guy very well. I'm glad I didn't, because he's a sweetheart of a man. I probably might not have even said this, but I was like, now I know how it impacted him. So I laughed, and like, I felt so bad. I was like, oh man, I just called this guy a pussy, like all this stuff. And like, I went home and I told my wife what I said, and she almost made me sleep on the couch. Like, she was like, I can't believe you said that. Blah, blah, blah. Like, she was like, I had thought about calling him and apologizing, and I didn't, thankfully. And so I show up to the mastermind meeting the next week, and he's giving his like hot seat, like breakdown. And he was like, because I got to say, he was like, I left this meeting and I was so pissed off. Truth will set you free, but first will piss you off, right? And he's like, I was so pissed off. I was like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? Like, who is this Jason guy? And who does he think he is? He was like, I was so mad all the way driving home to Ann Arbor. And he was like, I got home and I stormed into my house, and I like went up to my wife, and he was like, I told her what you said. And I'm like, can you believe he said that? And before I finished my sentence, she looked down and she couldn't make eye contact with me. And I realized that I'm a pussy. And that my wife knew it, but she didn't have the balls to tell me. And that the only person in my life that had the balls to tell me was this guy in my mastermind group. And so what I did is I picked up the phone and I called every single one of my past clients. And this has been the best week of business I've had in 10 years. And I'm like, dude. And he became one of my clients through COVID, when everybody was like jumping off in bridges. He had his best year in business. And it's like, you know what? What's the definition of kind?
Being honest, right? Being brutally honest sometimes is what people need. I actually went through a spell where I was being a pussy, right?
Yeah.
It was actually with like the first love of my life, and I would like thought, everything was going to be roses and dandelions. And it was actually really horrible, toxic, worst thing ever. And I was complaining to one of my buddies about it for like weeks. I called him one time, I was complaining about it. He goes, I don't have time for this shit, and you shouldn't either, and hung up on me. And that moment was when I finally got it. It took someone being brutally honest, right?
Yep.
And that's sometimes what people need. My life has flourished since. Granted, there's been trials and tribulations through that whole time, right? And sometimes you repeat the same mistake, but you can see it faster because you got called out. And I think you changed that guy's life for way, way better than you could ever imagine and he could ever imagine.
Because sometimes you need to hear something really bluntly. Mayor Nick. I remember I called him up and was like, "Dude, what do you want your social media to say?" Like because overheard him talking about hiring somebody and blah blah blah, and like I was like, "Dude, what do you want to do?" And then he's like told me about how you were like, "Stop being a bitch,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "And man, that has me on fire," and like he's that type of guy that he needs to be called out like that, and when you do, he's like going to take it and run with it. You were like, we were talking about for me, hiring an admin assistant and going through this process, and you were like asking me questions, and he was like, you're not going to be one of those guys that just like talks about it and then doesn't do it, are you? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to be one of those guys.
Never, never. How could I? Oh my gosh! And then you have this little like angel and demon on your shoulder, like talking about it, and then you finally like fling the demon off, and you're like, let's go.
But you need like there's a certain level of kindness. Kobe Bryant said it really well. Like he was doing this interview and he was like, leadership. Leadership is really hard. He was like, it's lonely at the top in leadership. He was like, all I want is for other people to feel the way it feels to win. And he was like, I'm that guy that's going to tell you what you need to hear. And he was like, if I'm sitting with you at lunch and you've got something between your teeth, I'm going to be like, dude, you got something between your teeth. And he was like, some people don't tell you because it's uncomfortable. Like uncomfortable for them. They make it, and so they won't tell you. But then you're going to leave and you're going to be like, damn, I had something between my teeth and Kobe didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that's not kind.
Yeah.
You just let him go out and look like a fool to other people too.
Yeah, it literally makes me think. Well, me and my wife were watching this Gordon Ramsay show the other day, and he is someone that's very brutally honest, right? Because he wants fucking perfection.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always said like the only thing perfect in this world is God and my wife, right? And
you have your wife in there too.
and we're just doing everything we can do to get as close as possible to it. So it's like, if you want that standard, you gotta fricking sometimes be that asshole in other people's eyes.
Yep.
Like Kobe said, you sometimes have to be alone on that island.
Yep.
And that's okay. It's a pretty beautiful island.
Did you watch the Michael Jordan
documentary? Oh yeah.
About one of my favorite parts is when they were watching that he was playing a clip of what teammates were saying about him, and he got super emotional, and he was like, "All I ever wanted to do was let them taste greatness," and he's like crying and stuff, and I'm like, "It's that like that guy was the biggest asshole to those people, like constantly over and over again. He was pushing them, but it wasn't because he didn't care about them or just because he wanted to win. He was like, I wanted them to experience what greatness was."
I'm sure my salesperson feels that right now.
Yeah.
I'm on his ass.
And he'll thank you later.
Yeah,
believe me from experience.
He's gonna be a killer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna be, and I won't sleep until he is.
Yep.
I mean, really, I haven't been sleeping great because I'm like, he can do so much better, and I could do so much better teaching him, right? And that's another thing that like with leadership, I feel most people have. It's like, okay, well, what can I be doing better? Even the guy that, called you saying like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then he goes, what can I be doing to tell this guy? What can this guy be doing to help you? Because like, you're not doing the right shit. And he's still like, what can I be telling this guy? It's not just, oh, it's all your fault, Jason. So what else do we need to do? So it's a constant battle of, pushing yourself because great people do push themselves.
Yeah. Well, and so when you're looking at like what difference do you make in that person's life, and again, I can tell you from working with years of people that have made them feel uncomfortable, that it didn't feel good at the time, but like I've gotten so many messages or outreaches over the years of people I've fired that have said, man, I didn't get it then, but like once I like really understood what you were saying to me, like I really clicked it into gear. It's been lights out ever since. I've gotten promoted. People are like, you're amazing. I'm over here. I'm like making this difference over here. Like it's amazing. I had this guy, he was like this, I don't know. I won't go into that story. I've told this too many times, but it's like one of those things, the differences you make in people's lives. Like when you think that, it's that being kind is not necessarily just being like, you should go home and take a nap today. Life's hard. Go take a nap.
Yeah, I like that. And then thinking about like your mastermind and exactly what you're saying there. I went to this retreat, this Nick Slavic retreat I was talking to you about just a little while ago, about Nick Slavic, not the retreat.
Yeah.
But it was like a similar kind of session like what you're talking about. It is a mastermind, just not a weekly mastermind.
Hmm.
So everybody comes and presents their ask from the group. So it's basically like, hey, here's our problems. Like, what do you guys think?
Hmm.
And I thought I was like top shit. You know what I mean? Going to this place, like I knew I was going with some like killers that were way ahead of me. But there's also like this guy John McFarland that was there. He's from our area.
Yeah.
John has turned out to be one of my better friends now. Like he is so great because he is also that brutally honest guy that just is like, well, why? Like, hey, well, we're doing all this, but we're spending this much on marketing. Well, why? Why? Like, why are you doing that? Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like really uncomfortable, but that's
Yeah.
what you need sometimes, especially once you think you're at this like plateau.
Yep.
I think that's the most dangerous spot to be when you're thinking you're at the plateau. I think climbing is where you always want to be because the second you reach a plateau and you think that you've made it all the way declining because you're not like, what's next? What's next? It's great to stop, celebrate what you want to see more of, but you need to, after celebrating, say, let's keep going.
Good is great's worst enemy. You know, like there's a book, Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's trainer. He wrote this book. I can't think of the top of my head, but he talked about like he said he was in the locker room when Michael Jordan would win championships because he was like his trainer, and he was like every single time, like in the celebration, pouring the champagne, doing the thing. Michael was like, and tomorrow when we get up, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Is what we're gonna do to work down and getting better. He was like, what's next? I'm not satisfied yet.
I wonder if you ever get fully all the way satisfied. I feel like the bar always keeps raising. What do you think?
Well, and what is God's purpose, and like what kind of impact do you want to make? What is the end game? But to me, it's like constantly improving. It's constantly making a difference in the world, and there's a constant growth with that. I had the biggest thing I got out of my junior college or my community college education. I had this history professor, and it was like one of the most startling things I've ever heard in my life. He was talking about like how history repeats itself and like learning and like how he was like the day that you decide that you're done learning lessons, he was like go home, open up the Chester cabinet drawer, pull out the revolver, put it in your mouth, and pull the trigger because you're dead anyways. And I was like, whoa, that's like, damn, you got me. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you do see like older people, they're always like trying to do new things too. The ones that are like happy, at least that's what I've seen at least.
What's success? What is happiness? What kind of difference are you making? And and it might not be winning the championship, but what is that next thing?
It's just like once you get that, sometimes the happiness comes from stuff that you didn't even expect, right? And success is always raising. I feel like you reach one, but then you have to. I mean, even after you reach it, then you're like looking back to like teach someone else, right? Like that's something I found a lot of
Reach
joy
one to
in
teach
is
one.
reach one, teach one.
Yep. Well, and I think that's the huge piece is when you're looking and again at serving people, pleasing God, serving people. There's something that I heard that I think is really good especially when you're thinking about the fear of posting or the fear of calling somebody or the fear of asking that girl out or whatever it is that you're sitting and fearing is that we were meant to please God and serve people, and instead we're spending most of our time serving people. I'm sorry, please people and serve God. Like we're doing it in reverse. And like serving people is completely different than pleasing people.
Sometimes you got to call them a pussy.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes it's got to be uncomfortable. Sometimes, like, I don't, like you sounded like you'd already had experience posting on social media. When I got out, I thought, like, oh, it's going to be easy for me to make videos. Like, I love getting up in front and talking in front of people. And then I would sit in front of my camera and, like, stall at it, or like make these videos that nobody was commenting on and then be like, did I think I was better than I thought I was?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to start posting this stuff and people are just going to pick it up and start running with it. And then I'm going out in the community and people are coming up to me being like, hey, I love your videos. Keep posting them. They're motivating me. They're inspiring me. They're like, can't you drop me a like at least? Like, keep me going, man. Fill my bucket.
Come on, brother. I mean, honestly, a lot of our clients don't even like interact with the posts. Like, I know it's crazy, but that's the truth, and that makes me think about my first big job I landed. My son was late for school. We went through the subdivision off Bauer, and we're cutting through. I see garage sale. I like I said, I love taking a dollar and turning it into two, right? So I'm like, okay, let's hit up this garage sale, Eli. We hit up the garage sale. I'm like, when was the last time you power washed your house? Right? Ended up power washing this guy's house. Was the biggest contract I had for power washing ever so far. Got Eli to school right after. Got some Halloween decorations, a bunch of cool stuff. Moral of the story is that guy actually ended up being a decent friend of mine and more a mentor that brought me back to God. He took me to church one day, or I went with him to church, and granted, it wasn't my church, but it led me back on the path. And he was telling me the story about how he was taking someone in to do a surgery, and they didn't really want, like, the family didn't want him to pray for him, but he asked the person, and they said yeah. So he prays over them, thinks nothing of it, does the surgery. And then the next day, a nurse came up to him that wasn't even in his nurse staff, just happened to be in like a room over, said so much for saying that prayer. It really impacted me, and it I needed it more than I could explain, and talked about how sad they were beforehand, and that it truly like lifted them up. And I think it's not I think what I got from this is you never know who you're impacting, and sometimes you won't ever know, right? And it doesn't matter if you're getting a like, or sometimes like saying the prayer, somebody in that room right over there, it might not even be the person that watches the video. You know, they might gain from this conversation. They might gain from that prayer. They might gain from that post, that video, that vlog, that YouTube, that podcast. Like, you really never know,
You never know.
because it's not up to you to who you impact.
Yep.
It's just go make the impact.
Yep.
Go take and please God and serve people.
Hell is meeting the person that you could have been. And what are those gaps that are keeping you from really fulfilling God's purpose? Because if we're all working on God's purpose, we're all fulfilling God's mission, this world is a more beautiful place.
Oh my gosh. I think we're all force multipliers for God.
Yep.
You know, He wants us to go and 10x and 10x and 10x. It's literally like He says go and, bear many, right? So it's not always just about bearing more children. Sometimes it's about bearing more great relationships.
Yep. 5,000%. 5,000%. Like Abraham was a father of many, right? Like they had no kids, but then like he was literally like, it's so crazy how it comes about. It wasn't just even being a father to kids.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I know our time is running out, but I wanted to ask, like, because I've seen some like cool projects and stuff. Like one, I live downtown Brighton, so like one house I see, like you painted like the big, like the White House, like and stuff.
Yeah,
So what are some cool projects that you've done?
that one was one of my like pride and joys that we did, the historic Hine home down in the roundabout at Main Street. That one was absolutely incredible. There's that, I think it's now called, I forget what it's called now. It's sold, but it was Interiors Now in downtown Howell. That building was great. We did Lolly Ella downtown Brighton. That one's beautiful. If you guys need some jewelry, go down there and grab some permanent jewelry. It's beautiful. Some other ones, we love our cabinet refinishing jobs because it goes from to like bam, 1/3 of the cost, and typically it's, I mean, 99% of the time way less intrusive than taking and having a remodel done. Um, let's see, we've done tons of houses all throughout Brighton. I believe we've done 600 projects.
Wow.
And that's continually growing. This year we've done more than we did, like we're on track to do more than we did last year, and we've doubled just about every year. And the goal truly is to impact as many as possible, but still maintain our standards. So as far as our business goes, we have done a lot of great things. As far as State Farm, we've done a lot of the State Farm offices, and many of you guys go into those. Um, yeah, that's kind of a lot of the bigger stuff that we've done. Not a lot of commercial, but impacted a lot of people. I think our reviews are where I get so buttered up, or get in the messages or the phone calls talking about how great we are. I know it's kind of sounds sad, but the ones that were bad were the ones that stuck with me more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember those really heavily, where we dropped the ball. and where we learn to be better to serve you guys, learn to be better for ourselves and for God. It hurt like making mistakes because I don't know many business owners that don't. And I think back, there's a couple that I didn't fully own the way I would today.
Mm.
And I'm sorry.
Ah, that's amazing because it's so true. How do we learn without the failure? The failure is our biggest learning lesson. We don't learn from success.
Yeah, failure has taught me more than any amount of success. Just like when I think about the hundreds of Google reviews, like what we were talking about, what have you done cool?
Yeah.
Why did the probably 4 projects that we didn't do very cool pop in my head?
Yep.
uh, I'm not sure why it's like that, but I bring on the
Because you're the
challenges.
standard.
Yeah, because the standard. But I bring on those challenges, and I'm still proud of all the stuff, and I still remember the names, and that's why it's like say the name a lot. I don't know if the practice that you were saying, instead of thinking of the next thing,
Yep.
it's like nice to meet you, Jason.
You have to say it. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. That's the next step of the process. First, listen.
Yeah, and then now it's just like, okay, I want to be a force multiplier for my guys. So one, like how do I did with social media and replicate it again? How do we make him impact his people and spread his story? Because now that it's a growing organism, like I look at it as like an organism, right? It's growing, and then now it's like, okay, well we can do this. We have a bigger story now. It's not just Brandon's story. It's not just Jerry, who rests his soul, like who started it. It's not just his story. It's like a giant blend. And that's what's kind of beautiful, because John's a little different than Andy, and Andy's a little different than me, and we're all together, and Eli and all these people, we're all coming together to transform homes, but we're also coming to transform lives. Because, I mean, yeah, some people say it's just paint, but ultimately it's an experience too. And when you have a
Mm,
great experience with a contractor, it's memorable, and you get to breathe a little easier knowing something's off your to-do list.
that is so huge. And we're ended here on like kind of a deep question. If like say Brandon from 2018 came here and met you, how would he be blown away at what is different?
Well, this Brandon would tell him stop being a bitch first off, and double down. And what? Repeat that.
So like 2018 Brandon meets you, sees what's going on, sees what life is like how would he be blown away?
He'd be blown away that I have a stable relationship with my wife. I think that's the number one. That's my biggest force multiplier. Having a stable home, because even with all that moving, right, that was huge. And then I started out my adulthood in that party phase, and it wasn't that great. I was kind of a lost soul, but it was for a reason. We go down those paths for a reason,
Yep.
and God re-guides us. I I would be so amazed that I can have these conversations with you, because I used to kind of be a little like, yeah, I was great at like being outgoing for little bits of time, but like this is a full-time thing now. It's not just like, oh, Brandon goes down the street and doesn't say anything. Like I'm always saying something to people now. It doesn't matter. Just like you said, that one extra inch. I'd be amazed that, wow, you have some composure now, and you're not just always up or down. It's like I can be up and middle.
Hmm.
I can be up and middle. Wow, I have a little bit more control over my emotions, and wow, you have some more control over your habits too. I mean, I know something that probably sounds crazy, like wow, you stop biting your nails.
It's huge. Yeah.
Wow, you remember people's names, because I was always egotistical thinking about myself. And that was something I look back and I despise about myself back then. Always thinking about myself. Now it's what can I do to bring something more value to each individual conversation, each interaction. That's I think that's the exact layer. Wow, you've done such a great job as a dad. Not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but man, those are the things I'd be proud of. And then it'd be, wow, I can't believe you actually built a business. I know that sounds crazy coming towards the end, but the rest is what made that stabilize.
Yeah.
Because I remember putting my daughter in the truck to go paint some houses, right? Because it wasn't stable.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
that's what I'd be proud of.
Dude, that's phenomenal. Man, if you didn't have time to, if you didn't have to go, I think we'd carry this on for another couple hours. But man, you're definitely welcome back anytime. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I don't even know if we touched everything. Obviously, we can go a few other layers deep, but I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, man. I wish I didn't have to go too, because we could chop it up for probably 25 hours straight,
Oh, for sure,
you
for
know,
sure.
every day.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thanks a lot, brother.
Of course. That was fun.